be doing the second part of this Deadpool drawing today. I'm going to be using Copic multiliner pens and this Pentel Pocket Brush pen. These are usually what I use for most of my ink drawings, inkings. Sometimes I use a dip pen, sometimes I use one of these brushes. Usually I use the pens and brush pen. So let's just get started. I like to start out with the that's our one, .03 pen, and kind of go in right here on the eye. It's just habit for me to start here. Give myself a base spot too. Work. So people have the misconception that line work or inking, whatever you want to call it, is just copying over pencil lines. And that certainly is part of it, but it's far from the whole thing. My job right now as the inker isn't to just copy the pencil lines, it's to kind of refine the pencil lines and make sure that the whole thing is cohesive and works. Make sure that each line is where I want it to be. Ink is permanent, I can't take it away. So I have to make sure that I'm happy with my pencil lines. And if I'm not, I want to change them with the ink. And so it's a lot of thinking, how am I going to do this part? Is this good the way it is? Or should I change it? What needs to be changed? What needs to stay the same? Things like that. And as you can see right now, I'm outlining all those parts where it's going to be filled in with black, all the larger areas. And I'm not going to fill them in right now. It'd be terrible to fill them in with one of these pens. It's a lot of the reason I have this brush pen. Not the whole reason, but a lot of it, as I do with that. And so right now I'm just going to mark this area off with a bunch of X's to show that I'm going to come back to it and fill it in. And we'll do the same with this drop shadow from the nose area too. Okay. See if I can get closer. Yep. Perfect. Now, like I said, inking isn't just copying pencil lines, but it's also very important to have clear pencil lines for the inker to be able to follow. So if you're going to have someone else, ink your illustration, you want to make sure that you're clearly communicating to them what you want that piece to look like in the ink stage. And, you know, it's a very, you have to trust that relationship. We'll zoom back out. Okay. So now I'm going to take the bigger pen, the 0.05 or 0.5, and I'm going to kind of go around the edge here and give it a thick outline. You know, again, talking about people who ink over someone else's pencils, I find that the best illustrations in that kind of format, two artists, one does the ink, one does the pencils, is one where the styles of both the inker and the penciler are distinguishable but cohesive. One of my favorite teams are a couple of artists named Cliff Rathburn and Ryan Otley. Ryan Otley's probably my favorite artist. Love that guy. That's not true. Ryan Otley is not my favorite artist. My grandmother is. And I love her more than she loves me. So now I'm going to add these hatching lines here. Another thing you want to keep in mind while inking is that there's still another stage left. And I'm going to go to a smaller pen now, the 0.0 or the 0.1. There's still another stage left in the process of the illustration. You know, it's still going to be colored. And so you don't want to necessarily oversaturate it, but you still want to make it look like a finished illustration with the ink. And it's a difficult balance to reach. And this one's going to be pretty heavy on the line work on the inks. Especially because of this big shadow here. One thing, talking about cross-hatching right now. You know, when I first started getting serious about art and learning it, I always thought cross-hatching was just crossed lines, and there wasn't, you know, really anything to it, except knowing where to place it. But, you know, as you can see with that curved part I did right there, it's a good way to show form, and so you don't always want to do just straight lines. You want to curve them with the form of the object or the character that you're drawing to make it look a little bit more organic. Alright, so now I'm going to go in with my brush pen. I think it might be running out of ink. I hope not. I don't have any refills with me. Oh, wait, first. Always double check and make sure that all the parts you want to have done are done. Okay, now I'm going to go in with the brush pen. And all the spots with X's, I'm going to start off filling those in. I know I didn't put an X there, but it still gets filled in. I like to save the biggest piece for last, which probably isn't very smart of me because I don't know how much ink is left in here, but it feels like it should be enough. With this piece, I penciled very tightly around the facial area so that I could not really rush through the inking, but get it done quickly. However, I did not pencil very tightly at all down here around the neck. So there's where I want to come in with this brush pen and kind of interpret these shapes in a more permanent medium. So I'm going to be a lot more careful down here. So right now I want to work on the neck. And what I love about this brush pen, it's my favorite pen, easily. Love it. Is you can get different line widths, and I'm sure, you know, if you're interested in this pen, you look up different videos about it. That's all people talk about, all the different line widths. But it really makes a big difference in making your drawing look more organic and natural. Whereas you see all these technical pens, the line is at a fixed rate. With this, I can go from very thin to very thick with just a slight amount of pressure. And you can see all the little shakes and imperfections in the drawing, which I like a lot. Alright, so here's the finished inked part. I'll be doing colors in the next video. Hope you all enjoyed. Talk to y'all later.